Welcome to Push with Love. Today we have Wade Simmons. Wade, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's
Please
awesome.
tell us a little bit about yourself and the passion you have for life.
All right. Well, I'm Wade Simmons, Chicago born and raised. Grew up in between the west side of Chicago as well as in Chicago Heights, so I got the best of both worlds. But I'm an independent filmmaker. Graduated from Flashpoint, Chicago, with a degree in filmmaking. So that's one of my favorite things to do. I also went to school to be a mortician. I graduated from Worsham College of Mortuary Science in 2018. Also did a little bit of professional wrestling training with CSW. So a jack of all trades and a master of none of them.
I like it. Yeah, that is a bit of a range, but it all kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like how you can jump from one thing. Plus you need that balance. So it's almost like you were entertaining your creative side and the physical athletic side. And then, the family business. So it's like, everything kind of
Yeah.
wraps up.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it's good to just kind of get the experience, like, three or four different worlds. I think sometimes kind of doing different things it helps you to kind of have longevity in the thing, right? Because I feel like for me, if I just did one of them, I probably would walk away from all of them. So I think that kind of like having other things to do kind of keeps you more grounded and kind of gives you a space to step away, come back. I think it's always kind of nice because like I feel like I don't care what you do or who you are. All of us are human, and you have to have a balance. Balance is very important.
Yeah, yeah. I think that rings true with versatility. It keeps your mind engaged and stimulated. I know for myself, I'm the same way. I like to kind of keep it real diverse and try a bunch of different things. That way, I don't really get bored with my life. I just look at it like, this is a playground. Might as well keep playing. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So tell us a little bit more about your funeral work, because that's a really interesting field to work in, especially when it comes to grief and loss, but also seeing people come together.
Yeah, so I've been in the funeral business for almost 15 years. It's amazing. It's coming around September, and that's actually when I started back in high school. I started working at a funeral home here in Chicago back in 2010. I was in high school and I volunteered and because I remember my teacher Miss Anderson, she was just like I got a student here that wants to be a funeral director, and so I would like for him to just come volunteer and check it out. And so she called the owner, and he told me to show up in a gold tie, white shirt, black suit, and it ended up turning into me working with them for about 13 of those years. And so I was there in high school. I was there while I went through college, and college was up and down. But being in the funeral business, it's kind of a constant reminder that that we're all here temporarily, whether it's 100 years or 79 years or 80 years or however many years, it's something that we should never take for granted. And so for me working in the funeral business, I just really learned to focus on things that I enjoy doing, fear God, love people, and not focus on like things that really don't really serve you too well because it's like if you think about it, right, like I look at life like a film, right? A lot of times when you make a film, right, when you have all this stuff that you want to put in a movie, right, a lot of times if you have to have a certain time frame that this movie has to be, you got to cut some stuff out. You got to, keep this, maybe take this out. You got to find the things that help tell the right story and fits in the continuity of it. And so I treat my life kind of like that, right? Like I don't spend a lot of time focusing on things that really don't serve me or don't benefit me in the right way. It's useless. I think for me, I don't focus on things that I don't like. I tend to focus on the things that bring me joy. I tend to focus on self correction, things of that nature. But yeah, like I think for me, working in the funeral business will teach you to be very intentional with how you use your time. You know,
Yeah.
that's as plain as I can get with that.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I bet. Being around it, you probably have a really in-depth perception on life and the value of life. And then showing the appreciation for your own life by just living it to the fullest extent. Like you said, cutting things out that don't really help you or are unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah, because
When
time
you,
is important. It's very
yeah,
important.
yeah, it is. It's very important. It's one of those things that you never get back, the resource. Uh, so when you're kind of going through this from high school, kind of for the years, when was it the transition that you kind of took into the wrestling? Was that in college?
So now that's funny because at the same time with me being in the funeral business, I actually wrestled in high school.
Oh, okay.
I was an amateur wrestler at Bloom Township High School here in Chicago Heights. I actually wrestled freshman year, but I quit. So I went through the whole like my sophomore year and junior year kind of staying away from sports. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna go back to the wrestling team this year, and I'm gonna stick the season out. And so I just stuck with it, and it was funny because all through the season they only had me wrestle one time because there was never nobody in my weight class. So I literally went undefeated because there was nobody in my weight class.
So you just kept getting the victories, huh?
kept getting default victories, but I'll take them. Hey, I showed up, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know the team probably appreciated it because that was a free win.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I loved amateur wrestling, and it was like really cool, like just working out, and the workout was, man, it was kind of tough, but I stuck with it. And like I said, because one thing about me, like if I start something, like I'm one of them people that I have to finish it. Like it drives me crazy if I start anything and I don't finish it. Like I'm very big on finishing things. I don't like to leave things unkept or untouched. I'm not one of those people that just start something and just forget about it. Like I try to stick with it, even if I have to take a break from it and come back to it. But in the process of it, I'm still strategizing, trying to find a way to win. Defeat is not my destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that. Yeah, I think that we have that in common when it comes to starting something. It kind of haunts you if you don't get to finish it. So it's like even though you have to pause and step away for a moment, you're still thinking about, I got to get back to that and I got to finish that just for your own sake, your own self-respect.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. Um, so you said that you have a kind of a view on life like a film, which I can relate to that. I enjoy um, kind of creating films in my own head and seeing things and creating characters and stuff. So when you were getting into the filmmaking, was this just kind of like a hobby, or was this kind of like a passion that you wanted to get into and make it a career?
Uh, it was more of a career, but how that came about was now I got to go back to elementary school.
Mm.
Because in elementary school, I used to love writing. I used to actually take my video camera to school. I still have like footage from elementary school, like tapes that I made from like assemblies and programs we had in my eighth grade trip. And I used to love like storytelling, and so I knew that I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but I never really really considered it as a career until while I was in mortuary school. This is what happened. We had to take this exam, which they call it like a capstone, which is kind of like an exit exam. I call it the exit career exam because that's what it really kind of made you want to do. But so basically, after we graduated, we had to pass the exit exam so that we can sit for the national board. So before you can even take the national boards, you have to take the exit exam because they claim or they say that they don't want you just to go out there and fail, so they want you to take a test before the test. No matter how we feel about it, you got to take a test before the test, right? So I was kind of struggling to pass it, and so I'm like, you know what? If this don't work out, I done spent all this time in school. Man, you know what? I'm gonna have to go back to school and do something else. So I thought about like being like a veterinarian, and I went to animal, like an animal shelter. It was like a school where they were training people to, be a veterinarian and things of that nature. And I went in there and I saw like the dogs with the one legs and the sick cats and the rabbits and the snakes. And I said, I love animals, but I don't think I can stomach this. Like it kind of like it's odd because some people say but you work in a funeral home, but it's a little different for me. But being there, it just didn't feel right to me. So then I went to Las Vegas and I went with my uncle because my family they're in the plumbing business, And my grandfather was like a very, good skilled plumber, and he taught my uncles the trade. And so I was like, maybe I kind of embraced that, and I went and I like, no. So then I remember being at home and I prayed. I'm like, God, I'm gonna go back to school for something, but it got to be something that I actually like. And so I chose film because I know that I love being a filmmaker. And of course, you don't have to go to school to be a filmmaker, but at that point in my life, I'm like, why not just go back to school? And like I thank God that I did, because like when I went to film school, like right away I started like making my own short films and producing stuff, because I had access to all the equipment right there. Like even if it wasn't perfect, like all hands on deck. Like why not just make the most of it and just make whatever mistakes I'm gonna make now and just get better. So I'm like, and once I started doing that, I started meeting like different filmmakers. And I remember like there was a movie that came out called Instant Family, if I'm not mistaken. And the guy that produced the film, he actually came to the school and talked to us. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so, like, I just started meeting all these people and then seeing, like, my teachers were, like, actual filmmakers that actually worked on some of the stuff we watch now. Even, one of my school counselors, like Bill Backens, like, he worked with HBO, and he had did, like, some work with Oprah and things of that nature. So it's like, I'm like, meet some pretty cool people. So like, I thank God that I did it. And so I fell in love with it and I didn't stop. So like, right when I went to film school, right, this is the funny thing. As soon as my first month in film school, I was still going to the mortuary school to take my exit career exam. And, and I ended up passing the funeral director side. But it didn't happen until after I went to film school. So it's like everything kind of just fell in line. But, yeah, that's what happened. But I love filmmaking, man. It's something that I really enjoy doing. I do it all day, 24/7, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of fun. Just creating characters and just making things that like people can relate to.
Yeah, yeah, it's the best. I can imagine being in the funeral industry. You could easily pull from plenty of memories and characters and stories of emotions, ups and downs. I mean, there's so many ranges of emotion through grief and coming together for a funeral.
Yeah,
Um,
in fact, my very first episode to my web series that I have out now, but I never released that one, was it was about me in mortuary school having to start over, right? And it was funny because there was supposed to be an actor that played Wade. Because I'm not, I really don't, I never really care for acting. I've done a little, in a few church plays and things of that nature, but acting is just not something that I was really too fond of. I don't consider myself an actor, but what ended up happening was the main actor didn't show up because something happened, and so I had to pay everybody. So I'm like, I'm not one that wastes my time or my money. So so I had to step in and do the part, and so I just started doing it. And then it's funny because like right after that happened, there were like other students who had projects and they needed they had hired like professional actors, but if they had a spot to fill in, then I ended up stepping in. So that's how I started filmmaking and acting. It's like some people don't think you should do both, but I understand that sometimes it happens. Long as it's a role that I'm cool with playing, like I won't just step into any role. But if it's something that's doable for me, then I'll try it out.
yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. It sounds like it would be a kind of a benefit to get the perspective of both, of
Yeah.
doing behind the camera and in front of the camera. But I could see the other side too, where they would say, well, it's probably best to focus on one thing and just get really good at one thing.
Well,
And
if,
that
if
goes
I
back to that.
if I had to choose the one thing, I probably would rather be behind the camera. But it's funny because I had a friend of mine named Tracy, and Tracy was like he was like a brother to me. I don't know what Tracy is to this day, but he always said like when he got into film, he wanted to be in front of the camera as an actor. But when we got into film school, he actually fell in love with being behind the camera. And then with me, I was more of a person that was like wanting to be behind the camera, but then they started putting me more in front of it. And I'm like, so like, but to me, I really love more producing and writing because on my first professional film, my first actual job description was as the producer. So that was like that's something that I really know how to do very well because that was actually my first assigned role on the actual project. And so I fell in love with producing because I feel like I love writing, and I love producing. But to me, writer being a writer and a producer kind of goes hand to hand, because as a writer, you think about this stuff, you write it. Now you got to have somebody to produce it. I can do it myself, you know. I think, and then other people that are writers, sometimes I may come across and they be like, you know, I need some help and I need this and I need, well, no problem, we can work together. Because one thing about me, I'm not one of those producers who believe in taking credit for somebody else's work. I mean, I can co-produce with a person, but I'm not gonna ever take all the credit, because as a filmmaker, I always want to give, you know, people credit to the ideas that they had. I just think that when people have ideas, they should be celebrated for it. You know, I'm not one that takes credit for anybody else's work. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's one of the hardest things too, is when somebody takes your thunder away from you. It's one of those things I've experienced plenty of times as a creative person in my life.
Oh yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
And that's why, like with me, I remember like at one point we were learning about like pitching to, like, you know, different studios like Netflix, and you know, well, Netflix is more of distribution, but you know, like Netflix, or even like, you know, things like Hulu or anybody, right? Like these distribution platforms and stuff. But we know that in order to get these film distribution platforms, a lot of times they want you to have like agents and all that type of stuff. So they taught us about how to kind of, you know, work with that too. But in the world we live in now, there's YouTube. You know, a lot of my work is on Vimeo, so there are so many different platforms now. It's like I feel like your success doesn't necessarily come from the platform. I think it comes from the way that you learn how to promote yourself. I think that as a filmmaker, I learned that some people that are filmmakers don't really focus on getting a lot of views or this or that. Some people just put their work out and like whoever see it, see it. If they don't, they don't, and that's fine too. But then some people are more in it like, no, I spent my money. I want to make every dime I can make back. I understand that too. So I would just like, you know, just tell any filmmakers, like, if you are going to be a filmmaker, just learn every aspect of the business. Um, Make connections, talk to people, you know. Don't be afraid to save a little money to promote yourself, because we know that a lot of times, in it's capitalistic society, right, everything costs. So, but if you're a person that know how to do that, then that's cool. But if you're also one of those filmmakers who it's just, it's whatever, it's for whoever want to see it, that's nothing wrong with that either, you know.
yeah, yeah, I agree. That's the one thing that I try to focus on, is just creating stuff and then just putting it out there and see what happens. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm I'm just coming across the fact that AI is catching up to filmmaking. It was just kind of imagery and short little clips, but now it's getting into like full length scenes and films. Do you have any kind of perspective or feelings on that when it comes to filmmaking and AI?
I do. Well, I put it like this. I know that AI exists. I know that artificial intelligence is something that they've been working on for years, and a lot of that technology was already here, I believe. They just kind of gradually came out with it, but I think that the motive for it is not always what it's presented as. I think personally, we, like I said, we live in a very capitalistic society where like a lot of businesses and corporations really don't like paying people. And so I think the motive more so is to find a way to, you know, make more money, but to pay out less. We get it. I mean, you know, the three blind mice know the principles in business, but I think from a human perspective, I think that honestly, I always say, to me, that God is the first artist, and so I believe that all of us are extensions of Him. And when I say that, I mean it like this: just like He's creative, we also are creative. And so I think that creation is a part of humanity. I think that that is a gift. I think that it can be used for good or evil. I think it's just the way people choose to use it. But I'm one of those people that believe that humanity should always use their own creativity. Of course, AI is even somebody's creation, but I think, to me, I love the element of human beings kind of creating, because it feels like it comes from the soul. And I just hope that, honestly, you know, no disrespect to the tech companies and the people that's making all the AI, because I understand they want to make their money and all that. I get it. I got it. I understand. But from a human perspective, like, I just hope that we don't lose sight that being creative is a gift. And I think that, you know, AI can do a lot of things, but I just hope that people just keep their creativity and just let it continue to live, because like I think that it coming from a human being is a lot more soulful. AI is only gonna create. It's pretty much gonna only create what came from a person anyway. Because even AI was created and made by a human being, and so like I said, so I put it like this: it's able to surpass us in a lot of ways, but its skill set still comes from something that God created. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I just look at it like humanity should never lose their form of creativity and using their gifts. So to me, I personally don't really use a lot of AI. Not for creative purposes. Like I use my own mind, my own brain, and all that stuff. And like I said, I'm not knocking anybody who does it because again, I understand it because a lot of times from a business or a corporate standpoint, it's all about production. It's all about being able to get the job done nonstop. And AI, I mean, hey, we got to rest. AI can go on forever. And it's getting so getting so good now. It probably can create its own AIs, and so it has benefits in other ways, but I still don't see it as being the greatest benefit when it comes to human beings, being able to use their own skills. I just hope we never lose that because I think it's kind of dangerous, in my opinion, for us to just rely too much on technology too much because you know honestly, because if you think about it, like back in the day, and me and my friends were just talking about this, right? Like back in the day when we were younger and children, they had VHSs and DVDs. We know the world progressed and changed, but it's like back then people were able to sell their DVDs, sell their CDs, sell their VHS, and it was a tangible good. But now, because everything is on the cloud and on the server, it's like we really don't necessarily own it. It's like all subscription based. It's all like at any point it can be taken down and things of that nature. So I'm not one that just look at the pros. I look at the con of that, and to me, there's a lot of more cons than pros. I would just leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can relate to that. I feel like you kind of nailed it there. When, at least in my experience with AI, it's a great tool. I can see a lot of applications for it, and I understand why it exists. Uh, the creative side of it, I could see how it really takes the soul out of it, like you're saying. So then it really comes up to us as individuals to re-implement the soul
Yeah,
back into the art. Uh, if an artist is using AI, uh,
yeah,
kind of recycle the soul back into it, put the human element. And I think that comes down to mistakes and error, imperfection, because you can see how AI is like so almost flawless. You don't feel anything from it.
absolutely. And like I said, it don't get me wrong. It has some perks to it, and I look at AI like I look at anything else. Everything pretty much in life can have a pro and con, but I think that being a realistic human being, we have to be able to acknowledge both. I think that it's just because, like I said, I never try to be one sided about certain things like that because I understand that everything that is good can also, in a sense, in this world, could be used for evil too. And so I just think that honestly, you already know most business people they're not necessarily looking at employees. They're looking at bringing in profit and a way to keep more money coming in and less coming out. So I understand it from a business perspective, but I don't. I just. I'm just I love humanity. Don't get me wrong. I love people. Even though sometimes as people we may do some disappointed things, but I'm on team people.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's one of those things that we're definitely coming up to an age where you are either going to be uh, kind of becoming cybernetic or you're going to stay team human. It's just one of
Yeah.
those realities that we're living in. Um,
Hmm.
when you kind of look at the creative aspect of getting into film and just that start and journey, uh, and how big it is. And maybe it's, somebody doesn't have the funds to go to school. What kind of advice or kind of feedback would you give to somebody that wants to get into it, but they just really don't know where to go and what to start?
I would tell them. Just write. And when you write, get your phone, which has good camera quality, and just write something simple, even if it's just a visual poem. Write something simple, try to shoot it, and then just put it out there. Because a lot of times, this is the funny thing about being creative, right? And I've seen this. A lot of times, people put a whole lot into their work, and sometimes it doesn't get a lot of traction. And then I've seen people make the most simplest, laid back, chill thing, and it goes viral. It's just one of those things where you just try what works for you and see where it goes. But don't never like measure yourself according to the next person. You focus on what you are capable of doing,
Yeah,
and let it take off from there.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's just start. And I can relate to that. I feel like the future belongs to the content creators. So the more creative you
Absolutely.
get, the more authentic you get. Not really trying to do something, but just being expressive and
Yeah,
creative.
it's like because when a person is like just trying to go viral and things like that, like I think, in my opinion, I think that's like not the best way to go about it. I think you should just be yourself. If people like it, they're gonna like it. If people hate it, they're gonna hate it. But just have fun with it because I think that's more. It keeps the soul in it, and it's like everything is not always about like having millions of people paying attention to it. Like I get it, there are perks to going viral and having a large following, but it's not. To me, that's not as important as me just having fun with what I'm doing. I mean, the people, if it's meant for the people to like it, they will. If not, and even if people like it, you're gonna always have people that don't. But just create it because you love it, and have fun because that's what you want to do. And I think it makes you more freer to do it. And I just think that like I think that more artists should just be true to themselves and make the stuff that you enjoy watching. Make the stuff because there's somebody else that's gonna enjoy what you made. But because if you try to do what everybody else is doing, it's like it's not you. So because I know I get it. Like we live in this world where now everything is like about trends and things of that nature. But I just focus on being me, man. Whether it's 2 million people watching or whether it's just 4 people watching, doesn't. I appreciate all of them, no matter who they are.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Not really for the attention. It's just for the expression.
Yeah, cause sometimes we know that it just because things look a certain way don't mean that it's actually like that. And I even say this that there are a lot of successful filmmakers who may not even have thousands of followers. There are a lot of successful filmmakers who are out here that people may not even know their names or know their work because why? Because not everybody has the spotlight on them. Not everybody, and it's pretty cool because like for me, working in film and then having somewhat experience in the pro wrestling industry, I learned there are so many moving parts to these businesses, and there are so many people who you may never know their name, you may have never seen them. You might walk past them every day and wouldn't know who they are, but these are people who love what they do, and I think to me, like it's not. It's don't get me wrong. There are perks to being well known. We all know that. But at the end of the day, to me, that doesn't matter as much to me. It's like me being able to freely do what I love to do and enjoy it, and I don't have to worry about all that of being harassed and all that stuff. Like, you know, like I said, no shout out to everybody who has that type of life. Is if that's what you want, that's cool. But I think that you don't have to let that stop you because your life is like not like somebody else's. Because again, there are a lot of successful filmmakers out here who have made plenty of films, and I think on social media like we have this very bad thing. This is like a pet peeve of mine, but I notice on social media, right, like if they show somebody that like people have never like a lot of people have never seen before, a lot of people like they'll ask who, who, who is this? Never heard. Of course, you're not gonna know everybody. That's just like in the ocean. There are probably so many creatures down in the ocean that we don't even know exist because why? We're not looking for it. And so there are so many filmmakers out here that cause like even on Vimeo, right? Like sometimes I just go on random filmmakers pages and just watch their work. Why? Because their work deserves to be seen too. And it doesn't matter if they have 5 views or 20 views or 10 views, because again, sometimes people who have smaller views, like I said, people judge people by the size of an audience, but that really don't, because there are so many moving parts to filmmakers. Like there are so many filmmakers who have worked on a lot of big film, and like I said, you might see their name in the credits because there's a lot of names that we don't even pay attention to, but there are so many moving parts to so many people out here. Like it's. I mean, I think like the so many film. I mean, there are probably millions to billions of filmmakers out here, and so you're not gonna know everybody because it's too much going on in the world right now. So it's like, you if you find somebody that you like, just support them. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter if other people support them or not, but if you like their work, support them. That's all. That's what I do. Like it doesn't matter, like, cause like me, I'm one of those people where if I see people work, and I'm not ashamed to say, hey, I send people messages. Hey, I saw your work. I liked it. Keep doing what you're doing. I really enjoyed it. I'm one of those people that I try to give people their flowers now while we're here, and not just because somebody has a big following or all that stuff. It don't matter if they have a small following. If I see something that I like, I'm gonna probably DM you and say, "Hey, I like your work. Keep doing what you're doing." I'm not a respecter of person because everybody is somebody. And,
yeah,
and just because you have a big following or you're in a certain circle, it doesn't mean that things are like that way. So I learned that. Like so, like it's like, look, I've seen a lot of stuff, and like it's like to me now, I'm more content. Like with okay, just focus on being true and genuine. Don't focus on trying to hype yourself up and all this stuff. Just live your life, and whatever comes with it will come with it. But support people. Don't look at their status. Don't look at who they connected to or who they're not connected to, because everybody can have potential to do great things. And so, because sometimes we have this tendency just to like oh man, like I'm gonna go check out this page over here because there's a lot of traction here, but a lot of times the people you pass up, you don't never know what they may become in life. So, just treat everybody. Everybody's a star in my book.
yeah, yeah. I can agree with that. It's like just appreciation for the artist. And then you're right. There's just so many moving parts. Nobody really knows all of the people that are involved, and really just a big team effort to get a feature film going.
Absolutely. And some of the people who are even in the spotlight a lot of times, some of those people wouldn't have never been there if some people would have never took a background. And so there are so many people sometimes who like pretty much say, you know what, I'm gonna step back and let you promote this person, and we'll help this person like that. Because even in the professional wrestling world, right? Like there are so many people who help get other people over, who help other people look good and shine. And sometimes I think as a child you don't think about it like that, because as a child, right? Sometimes seeing these people, like it's like, oh wow, like I see The Rock right there. And he's one of the biggest stars in wrestling. You know what? Maybe I want to be like The Rock. But then as you get older and maybe you get a taste of being in the business, you start to see like, well, you know what? It's cool, but maybe you just the type of person just be like, you know what? I'm just blessed to be here, and I don't need all that. Like, I'm okay with if you want me to put you over, no problem. You know,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah. Team
I don't
player.
want no problems. No problem. Yeah, you good.
Yeah, I like that. And it's kind of a more of a mature approach to it too. To kind of
Yeah,
say, it's okay to take one for the next guy.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the things that you shared with me. I feel like everything that you're sharing is some great wisdom and experience for people that are listening, especially if they're interested in getting into,
and I think,
wrestling or film.
and honestly, one thing about me, I'm one of those people that like, I'm one of those people that always believe in being true and real and honest. And so, because like a lot of times when you see interviews and they ask people, how did you do it and how did it come like this? Sometimes people, they don't always tell the whole story. And I think that is kind of, kind of bad in a sense, because I think that you should let people know what to expect. Everybody's journey and path is different, but sometimes like it's like, wow, they didn't tell me this or that, but it's like that's why like you need more people that's just a little more transparent and just like, look, because sometimes people might feel like, oh man, I'm not doing enough. And I'm no, it's not that you're not doing enough. You're doing all the right things, but you have to trust the timing that is meant for it to happen for you. And you have to realize that just because it seemed like you're gonna get something bigger, it doesn't always mean that it's better. You know, sometimes it's just one of those things where like you have to find a way to know the business, find out how to work the business, and find out how it works better for you. And if you do that, a lot of times, you know, you might end up doing a lot of great things, just not in the way that the next person is doing it. Because you know, a lot of times you never know what was did or done for people to get to where they are. But if you're a person that have integrity and you're honest, then you'll be fine. You know, you just do things the right way, and you learn the business side of things, and then you learn okay, and then you don't have to worry about it being a look. It can actually be that way.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're just living authentically. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate your time. We do have to punch off here, so I'm going to say goodbye. If you have any closing words you'd like to say, please go ahead.
Yeah, just always remember, time is always moving, so move along with it. You know,
Mm,
whether it's, I know some people call time a man-made concept. I get it, but whatever you think about it, always remember that those numbers do run out. So just use them wisely. And I love you all, and just keep doing what you're doing, and don't, never compare yourself to anybody. We're all great in our own way, so stay blessed and just stay encouraged.
beautiful. I agree. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. I appreciate you meeting with me and sharing your experience. This has been Push with Love. Please remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.